Norman Cota, the old man on the beach. War is for the young, or so conventional wisdom goes. During the Second World War, the average age in the American military was the mid-20s, with those of more advanced years generally excluded from combat roles. There are some, however, who defy this conventional wisdom and serve their country regardless of age. This is the story of one of the oldest soldiers on Omaha Beach. Norman Daniel Cota was born on May 30, 1893, in Chelsea, Massachusetts. He was a student at Worcester Academy, where he was an avid football player. It was during this time he earned the nickname Dutch, though it's unclear where this came from. In 1913, he was accepted to West Point Military Academy and associated with many future high-level officers, including Dwight Eisenhower, with whom he would remain close friends. Due to America's entry into the First World War, Cota's class had their academic terms cut short, and he and the rest of his classmates graduated in April 1917, 2 months ahead of schedule. In spite of the accelerated education, the war ended before Cota could reach the front lines and did not see action in the First World War. He rose through the ranks quickly, being promoted from second lieutenant to first lieutenant to captain to major in 18 months, serving as an instructor at West Point until 1920. Though due to downsizing of the military, he was demoted to captain. In 1922, he was the financial officer for Langley Field, Virginia, which was robbed of $43,000, forcing Cota to petition Congress to prevent him from having to pay back the money that he was held responsible for. He served in numerous other posts over the intervening years, and by 1941 was the chief intelligence officer, and later the plans and training officer for the 1st Infantry Division. When the U.S. entered the Second World War, he was promoted to Chief of Staff for the division, serving in that capacity until 1943. In this role, he participated in the North African Campaign and was later involved in the planning and execution of Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily. In 1944, he was promoted to Brigadier General and was made responsible for training troops for amphibious landings. It was during the Normandy landings that he would make his greatest mark on history. In the lead-up to Operation Overlord, he was again reassigned, this time being the executive officer of the 29th Infantry Division. They, along with his former unit of the 1st Infantry Division, were tasked with assaulting a section of the Normandy coast, codenamed Omaha Beach. Cota had misgivings about the operation, believing that the timing of the dawn landing was too late and that a pre-dawn assault would be more effective, but was overruled by High Command, who stated that air and naval support for the invasion would need daylight to be effective. Cota would join his troops for the landing, and at 51 years old was the second oldest man to land that day, after Theodore Roosevelt Jr. on nearby Utah Beach, who was 56. On June 6, 1944, British, American, and Canadian forces engaged in the largest amphibious operation in history. When the Allied forces hit the beach, they were met with a hail of machine gun, rifle, and mortar fire from the heavily entrenched German positions. The first wave suffered heavy casualties, particularly at Omaha Beach, and the attack stalled out. In the second wave, Cota landed at 7:30 a.m., which was under heavy fire from the Germans, and at least 3 men on his landing craft were killed as they disembarked the craft. What he found there was confusion, with the men of the 29th disordered and floundering on the beach. As the highest-ranking officer, the task of rallying the men and bringing order to chaos fell to Cota. In this decisive moment, he didn't hesitate. With withering gunfire and mortar shells falling around him, the general strode up and down Omaha Beach, seemingly without regard for his safety, rallying his men and leading them forward, and bringing much needed efforts, leadership to the beleaguered soldiers. At one point he came across a group of men hunkered down to avoid enemy fire. "Which unit do you belong to?" he asked the men. One of them replied, "5th Rangers." Cota then bellowed out, "Well then, Rangers, show the way." Though the exact wording of this exchange varies depending on the telling, the phrase "Rangers lead the way" has been adopted as the official motto of the U.S. Army Rangers. Another quote has been attributed to Cota on that fateful day. Attempting to urge his men, he declared that, quote, "Gentlemen, we are being killed on the beaches. Let's go inland and be killed." End quote. While it would be something in Cota's bombastic character to say, it was actually said by Colonel George Taylor of the 1st Infantry Division further down the beach. Under Cota's leadership, the men advanced, scavenging whatever weapons and equipment they could find until they reached a barricade of barbed wire. Under Cota's direction, Bangalore torpedoes, long metal tubes packed with explosives, were placed under the obstruction, then detonated. With the way clear, some of the men rushed forward into the breach, and one was cut down by German machine gun fire. The rest froze and took cover, unwilling to risk attacking this choke point that was clearly being covered by the enemy. Knowing the situation was critical, and the men's morale hanging by a thread, once again Cota took decisive action. In spite of the danger, he stood and advanced into the gap, urging the men on, encouraged by his actions, or perhaps shamed by a man twice their age. The rest of the men followed. They poured off the beach through the opening, and Cota led the men to the village of Verville-sur-Mer. When the last of the column finally reached the town, Cota asked them in his typical bombastic tone, "Where the hell have you been, boys?" In the initial aftermath of the invasion, he continued to be a source of inspiration for his men. On June 7th, he was one of the first to enter the town of Essigny, striding boldly without any fear of German snipers, and on June 11th, stood unflinching at a road junction while under fire, joking with his men to calm their nerves. After leading his men to success on D-Day, Cota was reassigned as commander of the 28th Infantry Division in August 1944. He and the 28th campaigned across France and were selected to represent American forces in the Victory Parade, which celebrated the liberation of Paris. Cota and the 28th participated in the Battle of Hartgey Forest, which began in September 1944. Cota had misgivings about the operational orders he was given. The 28th was sent to advance along 3 separate prongs, which would spread the division thin over 150 miles of frontage. His concerns were disregarded, and during the fighting, portions of the 28th were forced to retreat after suffering heavy casualties. While this was partially due to the difficult orders, Cota also made tactical errors of his own, such as not sending out proper reconnaissance of the objectives and not making full use of the armored forces assigned to him, out of concern that the terrain was unsuitable for their use. This unfortunate incident is a blemish on what would otherwise be a sterling reputation. After the debacle of Hartgey Forest, he was given an official reprimand, though he was allowed to stay as commander of the 28th, a position which he held for the rest of the war, though his hopes of being promoted to corps commander were dashed forever. After the war, Cota retired from the Army in 1946 and became the Civil Defense Director for Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. He would die on October 4th, 1971, and would be buried at West Point. During his career, Norman Daniel Cota would receive numerous medals, including the Army Distinguished Service Medal, Silver Star Medal with Bronze Oak Leaf Cluster, Legion of Merit with Bronze Oak Leaf Cluster, Bronze Star Medal with Bronze Oak Leaf Cluster, and a Purple Heart. He also received several foreign awards, including the British Distinguished Service Order and the French Quadriga. For his heroic actions on D-Day, rallying and leading the beleaguered men on Omaha Beach, Cota would be awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest award a soldier can be given for bravery on the battlefield. Cota would also gain another form of immortality. He would be portrayed by actor Robert Mitchum in the 1962 war movie The Longest Day, who would deliver the final line of this classic piece of cinema. Just as Cota equipped himself with the skills necessary to succeed on the battlefield, you too can equip yourself with vital skills to tackle your own challenges. Whether you're looking to sharpen your analytical thinking or simply expand your knowledge, today's sponsor, Brilliant, is here to help. Brilliant offers a wide range of interactive mathematics, science, and computer science lessons designed to help you think critically and solve complex problems. By dedicating just a few minutes each day, you can develop this sharp analytical thinking that allows leaders like Cota to navigate and excel in high-pressure environments. One of our favorite courses that Brilliant offers, Predicting with Probability, teaches you to wrangle massive data sets, compare distributions, and master fundamental concepts like the Bayes theorem. Data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant is the best way to get them. To enhance your skills with clear, practical insights for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/simplehistory or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Start your journey with Brilliant today and unlock your potential to tackle any challenge that comes your way.